In the middle of World War II, American bombers were dying in the skies over Europe. Every mission meant losses. Every flight deeper into enemy territory meant more planes shot down and more crews never coming home. The United States had fighters. It had pilots. It had power, but it didn't have range. And then almost by accident, one mechanic's so-called illegal idea changed everything. An idea no one officially approved. An idea no manual allowed. An idea that created America's deadliest fighter aircraft. This is the story of how a single decision made in secrecy helped win the air war over Europe. Chapter 1. The problem no one could solve by 1942. The U.S. Army Air Forces believed in one doctrine above all: daylight precision bombing. The theory was simple: fly high, fly in tight formations, use heavy defensive guns, destroy Germany's industry from the air. But reality was brutal. American bombers like the B-17 Flying Fortress were tough, but they weren't invincible. German fighters attacked relentlessly. And here was the fatal flaw: American escort fighters could not fly far enough. They could protect bombers over friendly or partially contested territory, but once the bombers crossed deep into Germany, they were alone. The Germans knew this. They waited, and then they attacked. Losses skyrocketed. Entire crews vanished in minutes. Something had to change. Chapter 2. The P-51. That wasn't ready. The P-51 Mustang already existed. But early versions were disappointing. At low altitude, it was fast. It handled well. But at high altitude, where bombers flew, it struggled. The engine simply wasn't good enough. Many in the US considered the Mustang a failure. Some wanted to cancel it completely. But in Britain, someone noticed something different. Chapter 3. The illegal engine swap in a British maintenance hangar. Mechanics saw potential, not in the airframe, but in the engine. The idea was simple and dangerous. Replace the American Allison engine with the British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. There was just one problem. This was never officially approved. No test program, no permission, no documentation. It violated procedures, but the mechanic and the engineers backing Heim did it anyway. They installed the Merlin engine into the Mustang, and when it flew, everything changed. Chapter 4. Birth of a killer with the Merlin engine. The P-51 transformed. It climbed higher, flew faster, performed better at altitude. But most importantly, it had range. With drop tanks, it could escort bombers from England to Berlin and back. For the first time, American bombers were never alone. German pilots were shocked. The fighters didn't turn back. They followed and they hunted. Chapter 5, Total Air Dominance. The P-51 didn't just escort bombers. It destroyed the Luftwaffe. American pilots were finally free to fight aggressively. They attacked enemy fighters on the ground, intercepted them in the air, denied Germany the ability to rebuild. Within months, the balance of power shifted. By D-Day, the skies belonged to the Allies, not because of numbers, but because of one aircraft born from an idea that was never supposed to happen. Chapter 6. Legacy. Over 15,000 Mustangs were built. It became one of the most iconic fighters in history, but its origin is rarely told truthfully, not as a perfectly planned project, but as a rule-breaking decision made by people who refused to accept failure. Sometimes history isn't changed by generals. Sometimes it's changed by a mechanic who installs the wrong engine on the right airplane. Outro. The P-51 Mustang didn't just win dogfights, it won the air war, all because someone dared to try something they were never allowed to do. And that illegal idea changed history forever. In the end, America's deadliest fighter was not born from a perfect plan or an official command. It was born from courage, defiance, and one risky idea that broke the rules. The P-51 Mustang became more than just a machine of war. It became proof that innovation often comes from those willing to challenge authority and accept consequences. When it escorted bombers deep into enemy territory, it didn't just protect aircraft, it shattered German air superiority and changed the course of the war forever. This story reminds us that history isn't always written by generals or politicians. Sometimes it's written by a mechanic in a hangar who dares to ask, what if we try something different? One engine swap, one forbidden decision, and one aircraft were enough to reshape the skies and, ultimately, the fate of World War II. What made the P-51 Mustang truly terrifying was not only its speed or firepower, but the psychological effect it created. For German pilots, the sky was no longer a safe place. The moment they took off, they knew the Mustang could be waiting higher, faster, and with enough range to follow them anywhere. Bomber crews felt the difference immediately. Missions that once felt like suicide suddenly had a chance of survival. This single aircraft forced the Luftwaffe to fight on unfavorable terms, draining experienced pilots and resources Germany could not replace. More than a weapon, the Mustang became a symbol of relentless pressure, proving that air superiority is not just about technology, but about endurance, reach, and the will to dominate the battlefield from takeoff to landing. Before the P-51 Mustang took control of the skies, fear ruled every long-range mission. Pilots counted the minutes until their escorts were forced to turn back, knowing what came next. German fighters attacked in waves, confident that time was on their side. The Mustang ended that countdown. It erased the invisible line in the sky, where protection once disappeared. With its arrival, the battlefield expanded, and the enemy's advantage collapsed. The war in the air was no longer about who could climb faster or turn tighter, it became about who could stay longer. And in that battle of endurance, the P-51 proved unstoppable, turning distance itself into a weapon and rewriting the rules of aerial warfare forever.